Hello, welcome to Jimmy's Allotment. In this episode I want to explain to you how to grow strawberries and how you can get the best crop from them, and what the things to look out for, the right things to do, the wrong things to do, so you can have a successful crop like myself. So at this time of year, it's currently the second week in May. Most varieties of strawberries will now be in flower, and the fruits will form from all of these flowers. So as soon as you start to see buds forming on the plant, you really don't want to disturb them in any way, shape or form. So I've got this, as you can see, in like a box area around, so nothing can sort of get in to disturb the flowers. But whilst the bees are doing their little job of pollinating the flowers, what you want to do is to leave the insects to do their thing. So the flowers will form on the plant like this, and like any fruit, the fruit of a plant will always form from the flower. So you start off with this flower with a small centre there with the stamen inside. So as soon as that flower is pollinated, it will start to lose its petals, and then the fruit will form. I'll just show you an example here. The fruit will form from the centre of the flower. So as you can see there, that flower there, in a couple of weeks' time, will start to look like that. So the actual strawberry forms from the flower, and then after it starts to swell, it will then ripen into the traditional strawberries you see in the shop. These plants are slightly more advanced because I've had them in a greenhouse, so that's why they're slightly further forward. You can bring the harvest forward of your strawberry patch by around a month if you cover it with glass or have it inside a greenhouse. So if you have quite a lot of strawberry plants, what you can do is sort of bring some on a little bit sooner by covering them with a plastic cloche to increase the heat inside the strawberries, so that the fruits will form a little bit earlier, giving a succession of crops during the spring. So like most fruits, strawberries love irrigaceous or acidic soil conditions. So when you're first growing strawberries, the best thing to do is properly prepare the soil by digging any weeds out or any unwanted debris within the soil, and then to put in to the soil either chicken manure or some other compost to improve the conditions of the soil. Strawberry plants, even though they are a perennial plant, they have a kind of useful life of around 4 to 5 years. So what you should be planning to do is to have your strawberries in for about 4 to 5 years. After they've been in for that amount of time, the best thing to do is to take them all out of the ground, to re-dig the ground and put more compost, etc. into the ground, and then replant new plants into the border where you've got the strawberries. Now, it's very easy to make new strawberry plants. At the end of the year, or the fruiting season of the year, the strawberry plants will send out runners, which are like sort of shoots forming from the main plant. This strawberry here, as you can see, is a runner from this plant that formed last year. And these plants that I have here were also taken from these strawberries. So all I did was, when a runner came out, I just put a pot amongst here and then pushed it into the compost. As soon as it forms its roots, you can then sever the link back to the mother plant, and you then have a new plant which will then last me for the next 4 years. So what you want to do is, when you get to the 3rd year of strawberries, what you want to do is start to take some new runners off. At the end of the 4th or 5th year, remove all of the old plants when they got all woody and old, dispose of those plants, and then dig the whole border, put some new compost and fertiliser into the ground, and then replant the new plants into the ground, so that you have a successful crop for the next 4 years. Now, strawberries are prone to a few sort of diseases or pests. The number one pest that I find are birds will eat the strawberries. they like them just as much as we do. So what I've constructed here are two cloches made from metal pipe with some mesh over there, and all they're to do is to cover the strawberries so that the birds can't get in there to eat them. It's important that when you select the mesh that you have on the here, that it's small enough to keep the birds out, but big enough to let insects in. Obviously, you want the insects to fertilise the plant. Sorry, to pollinate the flowers. So that's one of the main reasons for doing that. The second problem that you can get with strawberries is there's a few examples down here. It's called when you get rust on the leaves, and that's when you get leaves. All of the leaves should be healthy and green looking like this. What you can get is this forming on the leaf, which is called leaf rust. And the best thing to do is, if you ever get this on your plants, as soon as you see it, just spend 5 minutes going round and pulling off any of the affected leaves and dispose of them, either burn them. It's actually a fungus that causes it, so the best thing to do is to take the leaves off and either burn them or put them into the bin and dispose of them in that way. So that's another disease that you get. As soon as the flowers have formed and it's started to the fruits have started to form, what you need to do is to put some straw around the plant. You can see there's some straw here from last year, it still remains. So what you want to do is to build the plants up with straw around, basically to keep the fruits from the ground, because what you want to do is keep the strawberries dry, otherwise they can start to go mouldy, and as soon as one starts to go mouldy or to form fungus on it, it will then spread around the plant and completely take out your entire crop. So that brings me on to the next point. Unless you have extreme dry weather conditions, I would not recommend that you water strawberries at all. As soon as the fruits start to form, don't go anywhere near the plants with a hose pipe or anything like that, because in adding the water, you're not only sort of watering the plants, but you're also introducing a lot of moisture into the ground, which will then encourage the mould or the fungus to grow on the strawberries, and it will ruin your crop. One other quick point is if you get some late frosts after the strawberries have started to flower, what you can get is a slight problem where you can see here that's a healthy flower where you have like a yellowy green centre. If you get frost, the centre part of the flower turns black like that, which means you're not going to get any fruit. So don't worry about pulling them off. You can leave them on the plant, it's not going to cause a problem. And what you will find is the flower will basically die off, but you won't get any strawberry from that. But don't worry, you can leave them on the plant as they are. As soon as you've finished cropping the strawberries, one thing that I always like to do is to remove any, if you're not making new plants for the following year, what I like to do is pull off as many leaves as you can that aren't that may look slightly sort of old or slightly dry, only leaving on the healthy plants. Any runners which are coming off, obviously you want the goodness to stay on the mother plant, so pull those off also. So you only have the rows of, you can't really tell, but there's actually 4 rows of strawberries there, because they're so big now you can't really tell the rows apart. But any sort of new shoots coming out to generate new plants, if you're not wanting new plants, pull those off so that the strength stays within the main plant for your next year's crop. I think that's pretty much it when it comes to strawberries, apart from of course the eating part, which is always the nicest part. And from the strawberries you can make a whole manner of things, which I'm sure you're aware of. I typically make eaten mess or strawberry jam, etc., which is always good to keep you going through the winter months. From this area here, which is 15 foot up and around 7 foot across, if I was to buy the strawberries that I picked from here last year, it would have cost me £168. So I was, for around a 3 to 4 week period last year, I was picking 4 kilos of fruit every night, which was then, you know, either being frozen or made into jam or whatever. So if you are starting off with strawberries, you may not need something quite this big to start with, because this will generate quite a lot of fruit. You know, for your average user, maybe half of this would be more than sufficient. As soon as your fruit's finished, obviously remove the cages, and because obviously there's nothing left for the birds to pick at, and you can leave it like that for the rest of the year, ready for the next year for your next crop. So I hope that's been of some use to you. Please add your comments below if you like or dislike the video, or if you have any questions. I'm more than happy to answer them. So thank you for watching Jimmy's Allotment. Thank you. Bye bye.